I have no more campaigns to run.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Nobody in America that I know, at least not where I grew up, ever said to me as a kid in class, hey, Scott, good luck becoming dependent on the government someday.
Governor, there you go again.
One even said that efforts to guarantee fair pay reminded him of the Soviet Union.
Challenges for the next president is to restore some civility in our political process. But in the interim, it's ugly for sure.
I want to be president to help us build a future greater than our amazing past. And I will work with anyone to do it.
Whole binders full of women.
Is it right for me? Is it right for my family? And is it right for the country? If I answer all three of those yes, I'll run.
This campaign is not about Bernie Sanders. It's not about Hillary Clinton. It is not about Jeb Bush or anyone else. This campaign is about the needs of the American people.
Plays for the presidency.
Yes, every week we do this. We talk about what they're saying. They're trying to tell us what we should do. Those people running the plays for the presidency. Alan Kelly is with us, CEO, founder, Playmaker Systems, author of The Elements of Influence. Also, in addition to that, he is founder of the Bethesda-based strategy consultancy Playmaker Systems, and, of course, our weekly contributor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Tim.
So Joe Biden, WWJD, what will Joe do? This is the big question that has people roiling, and it is a serious question. I was listening yesterday, Glenn Thrush from Politico, who has a lot of inside sources.
Yeah, I heard that
with Julie. Great story that he wrote in Politico. It's basically, look, this is a serious decision. He's trying to think, is this going to hurt the family? Is it something that's going to be tough on the family? And by the way, am I ready for this? Because he doesn't want to do it as somebody who's just doing it. He wants to do it to win, if he's going to do it. And so it's the sense is that he is really, really wrangling with this decision, that he hasn't really made up his mind.
Yeah, that was Thrush's take, and he says he's not there. He said he's days or weeks or maybe months away.
Yeah. I don't think he's months. He said he'd do by the end of the summer, but I mean,
longer than most people I think have been thinking.
Well, yeah.
It was Thrush's take.
Yeah, exactly. But those are the circumstances. The question is, though, is how this plays out in your little world.
It's my little... what do you mean? It's a massive world.
Alan's Kelly's little world over in the corner.
Well, my little world...
Kellytown.
My little Kellytown looks through the standard table of influence. And in it, there are 24 plays or influence plays that we have documented and we believe exist. And I think what's notable for this conversation is that what Biden is doing is he is sort of mining a trio of plays that are very, very low engagement. They're assessing in their nature, no pun intended, but they're on the extreme left of this particular spectrum. They're called testing plays, and they are the trial balloon. They are what we call the ping. And then there is the pause. All of them are subtle, and they're just simply designed. They're designed for various reasons, but in the case of the trial balloon, just to try to get information, to get reaction to an idea, a thought. The ping is to maybe begin to subtly suggest a direction or an idea. And then the pause, of course, is the great, know nothing, is the great non-play. But as we've discussed many times, to do nothing or to say nothing, it can be highly strategic.
It's also highly effective, by the way, especially if you're doing interviews. Sometimes you keep your mouth shut and you'd be amazed what people say because they want to fill the void, the silence that's there.
Oh, really? This is very uncomfortable.
No, I'm just kidding. But it's true. It does work. A lot of times people will offer a little bit more, and it is nice. And as you say, it might force somebody to make an unforced error because they feel like they need to respond more than they perhaps do. So a lot of strategy involved.
Well, so here are the plays that I think of those three, the trial balloon, ping, and pause. Here is maybe a little bit about how they're being used, or what we say run. The trial balloon, I think, sort of speaks for itself. Biden enough has happened, even that he doesn't even have to trigger it, that he has got a fairly useful gauge as to what the public or the pundits think about his candidacy. So he's watching the theoretical polls. He's reading the coverage, and he's got a sense of whether or not they would really accept this. And I would say, maybe according to Thrush, it's a bit on the bubble as to whether or not the party or the electorate really wants him in. Then there's the play called the ping, which is the definition to hint and hide the oblique reference or suggestion by a player of implied interests or positions. I think we got two clips that I think are very interesting because Josh Earnest is using this play.
The ping.
Well, and so I think you could make the case that there is probably no one in American politics today who has a better understanding of exactly what is required to mount a successful national presidential campaign.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that an endorsement? Gee, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. So, it's elliptical, and that's what pings are. They are not really specific, but specific enough you can tell the direction that he's moving in.
He also said, by the way, that naming Joe Biden to the ticket in 2008 was the smartest political decision the president had ever made, which seemed to limit the importance and intelligence of the decision to make Hillary Clinton his Secretary of State. I'm not sure if that was intended by comparison, but it does make one think, oh, so two important appointments, one Joe Biden and one Hillary Clinton, but the one with Joe Biden was the most important decision and smartest decision he made.
Now, the play he's running there he's invoked that a number of times, and Obama said it a number of times, and I'm sure from Hillary's point of view, too many times. But the play that he's running is called a screen, where he's invoking or, hearkening back to some, memory or issue, idea or topic or whatever in order to, make the larger point. And so, between what you just ran there and then the fact that he's always saying he was just the best guy ever, you really do get the feeling that, I would have to conclude that if Barack Obama was pulling a lever in an election booth, he'd be pulling it for Biden. But I'm not entirely sure. Thus, it's a ping.
And you can only use it once.
One ping only, please.
I knew it.
Sorry, I had to bring in Hunt for Red October.
So the third play in this trio of testing plays is the pause.
Okay.
The non-play play. And I think that if there is an actor in this little drama, it would have to be Elizabeth Warren, who seemingly was sort of called to the residence of the vice president to chitty-chat, this last weekend about all sorts of apparent possibilities. Now, was he sounding her out to be a vice president? Was he sounding her out to have her blessing?
By most accounts, this was a meeting to show that they had met. Yes. That was what it was intended to do, and let people speculate, but it really didn't accomplish much. It was a mundane meeting, as was the meeting with Bob Bauer. It was not something that really had substance to it, except for the fact that it told people, hey, by the way, we're talking.
But did Warren say anything on the record or write anything after the meeting?
No.
To my knowledge, she did not.
No. The reports are basically that she just reiterated her concerns about important issues of the day, which includes reining in the wild spending and so on.
Yes. But that sort of statement.
You shake your head at this.
What I'm saying is I think that Warren is her play of choice throughout all this has really been the pause. She lets other people fill in the blanks, and she's really saying very, very little that'll give us a sense of that. You might say she's running a play called The Pass, but she's really in. But she's in. She can't remove herself from this speculation or from this narrative.
By the way, not every pause is strategic. We should point out there are some people who just don't know what to say. They have nothing on their brain at the particular moment. I'm not saying that about Elizabeth Warren, but occasionally a politician will look at you with a blank look like,
well,
I don't know.
Well, absolutely. In fact, I primarily, live in my little Kelly world. I live in the commercial sector, and the pause is used in the commercial sector very, very often just simply to look busy. Like, well, we can't. Oh, let's think about that. Let's pause. Let's get information. Blah blah blah. They don't really want to go and research. They just simply don't want to do it. So they use it to look busy. It's a wonderful placeholder.
We could also call it the procrastinate.
Yes,
procrastinate. Okay. So what is Hillary Clinton doing about all of this, Alan Kelly?
Oh, no. Well, Tim, she's not doing anything.
Joe is a good friend of hers.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm very cynical about this. We got a clip here.
Are you really? Are you really?
Well, I have to be.
Let's give a listen to Hillary.
I just want him to reach whatever he thinks the right decision is. It has to be a really hard one. And I was at his son's funeral. I mean, I cannot even imagine the grief and the heartbreak. I have a great deal of admiration and affection for him. I think he has to make what is a very difficult decision.
There's a couple of different takes of what she was saying yesterday to an audience in Iowa.
Yeah, and I want to be careful that those are edited clips brought all together. And what I'm really trying to make a point here is that she has choices. She could
hard choices.
She could not have brought him up.
She wrote a book, Hard Choices.
Okay, hard. She didn't have to say anything. She could have simply said, hey, that's between him and his family or whatever, and let's move on. But it is what I find interesting is what she chose to talk about. It wasn't necessarily what she said was so untrue or so drippingly, political necessarily. It's just that what she chose to talk about and emphasize that it was a hard decision, or that it would be a hard decision. And did I say it would be a hard decision? And then she, of course, referred to not the death of his son, but the death of his first wife, the death of his first daughter. These are things that she chose to emphasize in a fairly short segment of time. That creates an environment she is setting the spin, and I think tightening it, and making it harder and even more emotional for him to come to his decision. The play that she would be running there is a framing play that we call a filter. It's simply a strategy of editing of what you choose to say or do or convey versus what you don't.
I know this is not one of the plays you run, which is the bear hug is a play, but it almost sounds like a cuddling hug. She's saying, I love Joe. I know him so well.
Well, I was driving up the road thinking about that, and that play popped into mind because she is getting very, very close to him.
Right.
And so I think that could be a candidate. And I think that happens certainly sometimes in this system. You go, a little bit of this play, a little bit of that one. But either way, through that process, you start to locate the nature and the definition and the characteristics of the strategies that underlie the game and the gamesmanship of the presidential campaign.
All right. Well, on your way back to Kelly World, contemplate more the plays that are being run, because we're going to find out about Joe Biden pretty soon.
Yeah.
And just quickly, we only got 30 seconds. Is Donald Trump on the verge of doing anything other than continuing on?
No, I think he is in for quite a good while. He reminds me a lot of a former client of mine, Larry Ellison, from the software world, who is in many people's definition kind of an outrageous figure, but he had a knack for saying really out things that, with his personality, were outrageous. But then you looked at him on a transcript and you go, "Well, that's correct," or "Yeah, I kind of get it." Mm-hmm. And so I think people are clearly having a very hard time separating the personality of Donald with the content of the things that he's pointing at.
Alan Kelly with us each week for the Plays for the Presidency. As always, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
And don't forget, you can tweet Alan if you'd like, at Playmaker Alan. That is ALAN.